Ever try, like, explaining to a computer how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Turns out it's not as easy as it sounds.
Right.
And that's because even simple tasks involve, like, a surprising amount of planning.
Yeah.
Something that humans, we do naturally.
Yeah.
But AI really struggles with.
Totally.
So today we're going to explore a fascinating research paper you sent in.
Okay.
LLMs Still Can't Plan. Can LRMs a preliminary evaluation of OpenAI's o1 on Plan Bench?
Right.
Which dives headfirst into this very problem.
Yeah.
It has the potential to change how we think about the future of AI.
It really does. Yeah. The question of whether AI can truly plan, I mean, that gets to like the heart of what intelligence actually is.
Okay, so before we get to the like groundbreaking stuff,
Sure.
can you give us a quick rundown on why planning is such a challenge in AI?
Yeah. So think about all the mental steps involved in something as simple as choosing what to wear. You're factoring in the weather, your schedule for the day, your own personal style. I mean, AI needs to be able to do all of that and more.
Yeah.
But in a way that can be translated into code and executed by a machine.
And for years, that's where things have kind of hit a wall, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And we've made incredible strides with things like large language models, LLMs,
Right.
which are great at mimicking human language.
Yeah.
You probably chatted with one before, maybe even used one to write something.
Who hasn't these days? But those are more about recognizing patterns, right?
Right.
Like seeing what words usually go together, but not necessarily understanding the meaning behind them.
Exactly. Yeah, they're more like actors who have memorized a script than directors who could write a new one.
So true planning requires like a deeper level of understanding.
Yeah.
And that's where this new research comes in.
Okay.
With something called large reasoning models, or LRMs.
Right.
Specifically, they put OpenAI's new o1 model, which is an LRM, to the test. So how did they test if an AI can plan?
So they used a benchmark called Plan Bench, which is basically a set of standardized tests to see how well AI stacks up against, good old-fashioned human logic. One of the tests focuses on something called the blocks world.
Okay.
Where a robot arm has to arrange blocks in a specific order.
So kind of like a super-powered game of digital Tetris with a side of existential crisis.
Exactly. And this isn't just about moving digital blocks, right? This is about whether the AI can break down a complex goal into smaller executable steps.
Right.
True planning.
And just to make things interesting, the researchers threw in a twist, right? They created this thing called the mystery blocks world.
Right.
Which sounds like something out of like a sci-fi thriller.
It is a bit of a curveball. Yeah, imagine the same blocks, the same robot arm, but now all the instructions are deliberately confusing.
Okay.
So instead of pick up the blue block, it's something like utilize the Azure cube.
Oh, wow.
The underlying logic is the same, but the language is designed to completely throw off any AI relying on simple pattern recognition.
Okay, now that is just clever.
Yeah.
So how did o1 handle the mystery blocks world? Did it crack under pressure?
Yeah, you're asking the million-dollar question.
Right.
Whether o1 could kind of see through the linguistic smokescreen.
Yeah.
And still nail that planning challenge.
Right.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
o1 did surprisingly well.
Okay.
Even with the confusing instructions in the mystery blocks world.
Oh, wow.
It outperformed every large language model that they tested.
Okay.
Suggesting that it was doing something more than just basic pattern recognition.
So it actually managed to plan, even when things got deliberately weird. That's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Does that mean we finally cracked the code on AI planning?
Well, hold on. Not so fast.
Okay.
While o1 showed, like, real promise, it wasn't all smooth sailing.
Oh, there's always a catch, isn't there?
Right.
Come on, spill the tea. What kind of limitations are we talking about?
Well, for starters, o1's performance kind of took a nosedive when the problems got more complex.
Oh.
More blocks, more steps, more layers of those confusing instructions, and suddenly it was like o1 was lost in a maze.
So it can handle the basics,
Yeah.
but when things get really challenging, it starts to stumble.
Yeah.
Kind of like me trying to follow a recipe with too many ingredients.
Precisely. And here's the real kicker.
Okay.
A key part of planning is not just finding a solution, but also recognizing when a solution doesn't exist.
Right, like if I asked it to stack the blocks into a floating sculpture that defies gravity.
Exactly. And this is where o1 really struggled.
Okay.
It would keep trying to force a solution, even when it was logically impossible. and racking up those reasoning tokens in the process.
Reasoning tokens, you mentioned those earlier.
Right.
What are those exactly, and why do they matter?
Great question. So imagine these reasoning tokens as a way to measure how much mental effort O1 is putting in.
Okay.
The more complex the problem, the more it has to think.
Right.
And the more reasoning tokens it uses.
So it's like a mental treadmill for AI. The more it runs, the more it costs to operate.
You got it. And this cost isn't just theoretical.
Okay.
It has real-world implications because OpenAI actually charges based on how many reasoning tokens are used.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
They're charging for AI thinking time?
Uh-huh.
That's both fascinating and a little terrifying.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. Okay, so we've got AI racking up charges for deep thinking,
Right.
hitting a wall when things get too complex,
Yeah.
and sometimes even failing to recognize when a task is impossible.
Oh.
Where do we go from here? Is this like the end of the road for AI planning?
Not at all. And remember, this research is still in its early stages.
Right.
It's more about illuminating the path ahead than like declaring victory.
Okay.
What's really exciting is that by understanding the limitations of these powerful models like O1,
Yeah.
we can start exploring new, potentially even more effective approaches.
You're saying there might be a way to make AI planning more efficient,
Yeah.
more elegant.
Dare I say elegant? Precisely. And the research paper hints at one particularly intriguing possibility, something called LLM modulo systems.
Okay, we touched on those briefly earlier.
Right.
It's like a tag team effort between different AI approaches, right?
Exactly. Imagine an LLM with all its language skills acting as a sort of interpreter.
Okay.
It takes your complex request. Hey, AI, made me a 3-course meal, but I'm allergic to gluten and I only have 20 minutes.
Right.
And translates it into a streamlined format that a more traditional rules-based planning algorithm can work with.
So kind of like having a master chef
Yeah.
who can translate a complicated recipe into simple steps even I can follow.
I like that analogy, yeah.
Okay.
These traditional planning algorithms are like the sous chefs of the AI world.
Okay.
They're not flashy,
Right.
but they're incredibly efficient at breaking down a task into its smallest components and finding the most optimal solution.
So the LLM handles the what, and the planning algorithm handles the how, and together they make beautiful music, or in this case, a delicious 3-course meal.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see the appeal.
And here's the best part. These traditional algorithms are often less computationally demanding than massive models like O1.
Okay.
They don't need as many reasoning tokens to, like, churn through a problem.
Right.
Which means they're potentially more cost-effective and scalable.
So it's not just about building bigger and more complex AI.
Right.
It's about finding the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
And sometimes a team effort is the most elegant solution.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this research so thought-provoking.
Yeah.
It's not just about whether AI can plan. It's about how we can help it plan better, more efficiently.
Right.
And in a way that benefits everyone.
So for our listener out there who sent in this fascinating paper,
Yeah.
it sounds like the quest for true AI planning is still very much on.
It is. And it might be even more exciting than we initially thought.
Yeah. Well, if this deep dive has taught us anything, it's that the future of AI isn't about finding all the answers. It's about asking the right questions.
Nice.
And being open to unexpected possibilities.
Totally.
And maybe, just maybe, those possibilities will involve fewer robot uprisings
Hopefully.
and more perfectly planned peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Exactly.
Until next time, keep those questions coming.
Yeah.
And remember, the only dumb question is the one you're too afraid to ask.